Egypt to attend such an international summit.
Thank you so much. On the sidelines of Cop27, we're bringing you the beat of Sharm here on Nile TV International, and we're really honored to have with us Mrs. Jane Nelson from Harvard University. Mrs. Nelson, thank you so much for joining Nile TV.
Thank you, Taghreed, and great to be with you here today.
Great to be with you, and it's great also to feel the beat of COP27. The first impressions, how do you see the vibes? You know, the mother of the world today is attracting people's attention.
The mother of the world is absolutely attracting people's attention, and I think this is going to be one of the most important conferences probably in our lifetimes. You know, former UN Secretary General and Kofi Annan said we are the first generation in history that can solve global poverty, and we're the last generation in history that can prevent the worst effects of climate change. And so I think the responsibility of everyone here, the governments, the business leaders, the civil society leaders, the indigenous peoples leaders, academic leaders, scientists, is going to be incredibly important this week as we move from ambition to action and really focus on implementation.
Exactly, since we're talking from vision to implementation, and this is actually the motto, and this is actually what all the stakeholders here are currently working on. COP27 is making history. It is going to be sending messages from Egypt, from the mother of the world to the whole world, that it's high time that we work together towards a much more secure future vis-a-vis fighting climate change.
Exactly, and I think working together is going to be needed between governments, and we really need to overcome some of the geopolitical tensions, for governments to work together and reinforce and re-energize international cooperation between governments, and then also the multi-stakeholder aspects of the conference, with business, civil society and government working together, financial institutions making commitments, and we really need a multi-stakeholder approach.
Yes, it is, and it's also extremely nice to find here everybody. The youth are also participating, and this is quite interesting because, Jane, as you know, Egypt, the mother of the world, invests in the youth, and His Excellency President Sisi is very much behind the youth. They are the treasure of Egypt, and they are actually our treasure to move forward. So how do you see the youth also participating, youth representatives, and their role in climate action? How do you see that?
Absolutely crucial, and in fact I had the great opportunity to meet with some of the youth delegation half an hour ago, and I think that, you know, the energy, the focus, the commitment, the passion, but also the very specific asks that young people are making, and really saying to us, you know, your generation haven't done it correctly. Now it's on our generation to take action. So I think they're becoming, you know, much more demanding than they've been in the past. I think there's enormous opportunity for youth, both from a political engagement perspective, but also youth entrepreneurship. And we're going to see some great examples here in the innovation zone and the green zone, as well as in the blue zone, of youth entrepreneurs working together to find practical solutions, as well as youth advocating to governments for change. So I think the youth presence is already strong, and I think it's going to grow throughout the week, and a very important presence, and very practically focused, not just advocating, but also demonstrating what young people can do.
Yes, exactly, demonstrating willingness to act in action, and as Jane said, it is this issue of togetherness that we need. We need this collaborative work in order to find solutions on the ground. Jane, you've mentioned entrepreneurship, and this is actually very important since we're talking climate action and climate change. The role of entrepreneurs, the private sector, vis-a-vis putting their hands on with the governments in order to be focused and find unconventional solutions. What are we expecting?
Again, I think a massive presence from the private sector, both private financial institutions as well as large corporations, as well as entrepreneurs and startup companies. And I think, you know, across the spectrum, we're seeing companies beginning to take action, making commitments themselves, so net zero commitments in their own operations, their own supply chains, looking at how they can innovate new technologies, new financing mechanisms, new business models, new products and services to support the energy transition. opportunities to find ways to increase access to energy to low-income communities in a more renewable, sustainable way. And we're also seeing business playing an advocacy role. So I think we're seeing business in three key areas, through its core business operations, making its own net zero commitments, through innovation and entrepreneurship and new approaches, and through advocating for policy change. So I think we're seeing a growing focus from the business community and from the financial sector.
It is, and it's always great to see what Jane is, focused on, which is innovation. Innovation is considered to be the key if we're talking success of COP27. And here come all the stakeholders joining forces together, sitting, think tanks, brainstorming new ideas, and coming out with the innovative solutions. How can we, encourage those innovative solutions? It's always, the key is in education, as we say. Education and education, and a sense of awareness for the people vis-a-vis the hazards of climate change. What do you think?
Absolutely. So I think education plays a crucial role, both awareness of the hazards of climate change, but also really giving people hope that we can take action, that we must take action, and we can have an impact, and not to give up, because we clearly face very challenging times at the moment, not only from climate but from a range of other polycrises that the world is facing. And so I think education to inspire and motivate young people to take action is key. I think incentives are very important, so government incentives, financing incentives to get your business to take action, and then policy. And we talk about innovation, I think, not only from a business perspective, but we need innovative new policies. We need new policy structures, new policy dialogues, which are more innovative than they've been in the past as well.
Yes, Jane. Well, a final question before we leave. Let us more focus on messages that the Mother of the World is sending throughout COP27 that makes all the difference. As you know, Africa is pinning high hopes also on COP27. Egypt is speaking in the voice of Africa vis-a-vis the hazards of climate change. This important COP27 is branding Egypt globally. Look at the thousands of delegations and delegates who came here to Sharm to attend this beautiful Congress, and they are all like ambassadors for their own countries. They are going to go back home with numerous ideas, and at the same time also applications, which really matters.
Absolutely, and I think ambassadors for action would be my takeaway. How can each of us both come here but leave as ambassadors for practical, on-the-ground action and implementation and collaboration, because that's the only way we're going to move forward.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Jane Nelson from Harvard University, joining us exclusively on Nile TV International and on the sidelines of our coverage of COP27. As Ms. Nelson said, let us all move forward together. Let us put this sense of togetherness high. Let us all act as ambassadors in action. And this is the way forward to achieve success. We still continue here the beat on Nile TV International from Sharm and covering COP27, making history on Egyptian soil.